Hi guys, and thanks so much for the overwhelming support from my last video. Means the world to me, and it really made me much happier. So thanks for that. So on a lighter note, I'd like to speak about guitar frustrations today and how they actually can be a good thing. So hopefully that'll kind of change the mood a little bit to a more positive one. But if you're suffering from, having this vision of you recording or playing something awesome, and then, the end product kind of sucks, or you think it sucks, and that really gets you mad, frustrated, and angry and all that, then I know the feeling, and I'm really here to tell you that in the end, that frustration might actually be what turns you into a winner. So let's speak about that. I get this all the time, right? You start with an idea of something awesome that you can kind of record or play, or maybe you want to write a song and you got this riff, and you typically don't really sit down and play something or record something unless you have a vision of where you want it to be. So it could be as simple as your daily routine, which might be structured to build your shops. So maybe you want to play like I don't know, Paul Gilbert or someone, and you have these exercises that you believe are going to help you towards that end goal. So that's an example of how you work your way towards something, and then along the way you maybe record yourself, or you just kind of gauge how it feels, the tempo or your control, and you might get frustrated because you're not kind of experiencing the results you were expecting. So when that happens, what do you do? And is it a bad thing? And how do you get past it? So I would like to argue that this kind of frustration can act as fuel for your journey, but not necessarily. Some people let that frustration really kind of crush them. It's like, no, I can't do this. I probably should change my path towards something else. Maybe I just have to stick with playing chords. I won't be able to learn that fancy lick or something like that. And if that happens to you, then that's obviously not a good thing. That's the wrong conclusion. And at that point, I think it's kind of important to realize that your heroes, the ones you're trying to be like, they experienced the same thing. In fact, it's something everybody experienced. And I can actually, give you numerous examples of these heroes. One that pops out of my head here is Joe Satriani. I remember he said that, well, in the beginning, the first years, your job is just to stick through it because everything you play sounds horrible. You're supposed to sound like crap, right? And it's interesting coming from him, right? Because he doesn't sound like crap, and probably knows what he's talking about. So if even Joe Satriani has experienced sounding like crap the first years, then it's okay if your first attempts sound like crap. So I would like to argue that if you can kind of stick through those first frustrations, then that already sets you apart from many other people. So you could look at it as, if you're experiencing these hardships and it feels frustrating, then that's your first real opportunity to set yourself apart from the pack. If you just plow through it, then you're already going to be in a better position than many other people. You don't even have to sound good yet. You just have to stick to it and plow through it. So that's one way to deal with those frustrations and with those obstacles along the way. See them as an opportunity. If you can get through them, you will already have achieved something other people can't do. Okay? So don't think that, I have to stick to playing chords. I can't ever learn to play, something fancy. Just keep going. You'll get there. But there's also another dimension to these frustrations, and that has to do with expectations. If you're frequently experiencing frustrations when you're listening back to yourself, or when you're just playing and it feels really frustrating because you can't do something, then that probably means you have high expectations that don't really match your current level. Now, if you're the type who puts the guitar down immediately, then that's kind of dangerous, right? But hopefully my previous advice can help you get past that. And if you can get past those frustrations, then having high expectations is a good thing, right? Because all your guitar heroes, they had a clear vision of where they wanted to go. So that's also where they had their expectations, because visions and expectations kind of go hand in hand if you're trying to get good, right? You have a vision of where you want to get, and you expect to be able to get there, the more you work on it. So if you don't have high expectations on your playing, then there's a big risk you won't be progressing as fast as someone who has these expectations but also experiences more frustrations. And that's kind of the point I wanted to make here, that frustrations, they can bring you down, but they can also be your kind of guiding path towards your goal. If you experience frustrations a lot, that means you still have your vision of your goal very close at hand. So, I would even argue that if you don't feel these frustrations, then maybe something is wrong. Of course, this also has to do with your overall goal. If you just sit down and play guitar once a week because it makes you feel good, then, perfectly fine. But if you're working hard on the guitar and you really want to take it somewhere, then you should probably get better at embracing these frustrations, because they tell you you're still working along that path towards your goal. Okay, so even if you accept these arguments, you might be telling me that, well, that's fine, but these frustrations are crushing. They bring me down, I keep practicing, but these frustrations, they make my life miserable. And here is when you need tools to get past the feeling of these frustrations bringing you down. Like I said, the frustrations are a clear indication that you're working in the direction where you want to go. But it's not good if they totally bring you down and make you depressed, right? So that's when you need tools to get past these frustrations. And there are as many of these tools as there are personalities, but I'm just going to give you a few examples of basically of stuff I like to do when I feel really frustrated. So first of all, when I record something, I always hate what I record. Always. So what I do is I keep recording and I practice in between, and I do some exercises. I try to relax. I take a 5-minute break over and over until I'm exhausted. And usually at the end of that process, it's like, okay, I better keep one of these takes because soon I'll be exhausted, and then, there won't be any more takes. And I let that take rest a little bit. I'll maybe give it another day until I really make a judgment. And if I hate it the next day, then I'll repeat the process and just keep trying to record. Sometimes what happens is I listen back to it the next day, and it's like, well, that didn't turn out the way I expected, but there's some really good stuff in there as well. And if that happens, you can wait another day and listen again. And then what can happen after 2 or a couple of days is like, wow, that take is really good, but it doesn't sound like anything that I wanted to do. And here is an opportunity to take a shortcut. Because what happened was you had a vision in your mind of where you wanted to take things. You didn't get there, but you got somewhere else. And sometimes that actually kind of takes you further than you expected. You just didn't have that as part of your vision. So be smart about your progress. The best paths are not always the straightest ones or the ones you envision. Sometimes you can really stumble upon a much faster and better path just by mistake. So don't disregard a recording you made just because you're frustrated that it didn't sound the way you thought it would sound. Sometimes, or many times, your recording maybe is kind of totally sloppy and bad timing, and those recordings are usually not very good, right? But if timing is different than you had expected, that's when it can be good. Or if, you know, it turned out different but still good. Not same, but different. I was going to say that, you know, same but different. But well, anyhow. So hopefully you get my point here. You know, try to look and listen back to your recordings with a fresh mind. That can give you super valuable insights. It might even make you adjust that end goal a little bit. It's like, oh wow, okay, I don't always need to do it like that. There's another way of doing it, which also sounds cool. And that kind of thing really takes you closer to your goal without you even knowing it. So that would be one of the tools I use to get past these frustrations. Turn the frustration into an advantage, or at least you should try. Other things you can do is to try to be a bit more proactive. For example, I know that if I work in one direction for too long, so for example, if I work week after week trying to get super shreddy and good, usually I'll experience an initial peak where it's like, wow, I refound that lick and my chops are a little bit better. You know, I'm getting a little bit back of my alternate picking. So you know, I experience some positive feelings, but then it gets less and less of that, and you just have to plow through it and work hard, and that's fine. But for me, it seems more effective to maybe just work 1 or 2 weeks, and before I reach the point of being totally frustrated, I switch to another style. This isn't for everybody, but because my vision and my goal is to build a style of my own that is a unique blend of the things I love, then this kind of strategy works really well for me. But if you're totally into just, you know, recording metal, that's it, then maybe, you know, working 2 weeks on metal and then doing blues and then doing funky stuff, that's not going to be your thing. But maybe you can adopt that on a kind of micro level. Maybe you can try a different style of metal. Maybe you can try something slow and gothic and just work on the harmonies, you know, and then get back to your trashy or speedy stuff. I don't know. Those are just a few examples of ways you can try to get past those frustrations. But the big thing is to realize that those frustrations are perfectly normal, and they're actually a clear indication that you have an end goal in mind, and that's a very positive thing. So don't let those frustrations bring you down. Instead, learn to live with them, develop tools that work for you so you can be a little bit proactive and maybe avoid the worst frustrations, or maybe turn those frustrations into features. So if you maybe have more suggestions, stuff that works for you when you feel frustrated, then please share them, because I need them desperately, and I'm sure there are other people who would be really happy to get more of these tips, because as I said, there are as many as there are personalities. So chances are that the ones I gave you here might only work for a fraction of the people watching this. So share your tips, and hopefully we can help each other and kind of move more smoothly towards our guitar goals. Thanks so much for watching. See ya. Cheers.